So, Dean Rogers, thank you so much for being with us today. First question I have for you is, what do you admire most about the veteran community here at Columbia?
Thank you for having me. I admire the same thing I admire about all of our students at Columbia University. It's the contribution made in the classroom, the contribution to the intellectual discourse. Columbia University has a school dedicated to non-traditional students where most of our student veterans attend. It's a school designed for non-traditional students who follow a non-traditional path, and it's based on the idea that experience matters, that experience informs what you want to think about, what you want to write about, what you want to actually contribute in the classroom.
Yeah.
And having student veterans in the classroom contributing based on their experiences during their time in service as enlisted women and men who signed up to serve the nation, drawing on that, bringing that into the classroom, bringing that into the academic conversation is really one of the most valuable contributions they can make.
Love it. Awesome. Okay, cool. Next question. Overall, when concerning the academic performance of student veterans, how do you think student veterans perform when compared to the traditional student directly out of high school?
It's an interesting question because I sort of step back from that and I don't see a difference. Now, I say that knowing all students are different. They come in with their own backgrounds, their own academic and classroom experiences. But when we look at populations across the spectrum, the contributions made and the performance that we see is as good as any other student at a highly competitive place like Columbia University. In some ways I would actually even take that a step further. Mm-hmm. I would say the advantage that a service member has when they come to a classroom environment like this is that one of the lessons they bring with them from service is discipline. If you're in a special operations unit and you've achieved a certain level of success in your enlistment and your time in service, you've excelled and you've accomplished that along the way. Well, that discipline translates in the classroom, and that matters. How you approach your work, how you set yourself up for success. Enlisted service members, who are undergraduates here, and that's the population I work most closely with, they thrive, they excel, they succeed. And they're probably disproportionately represented at the tops of the academic ranks within all of the units, the academic departments that they're enrolled in.
So, if you don't mind, I'd like to shift our discussion a little bit to the Center for Veterans Transition and Integration, which I know is near and dear to your heart. So, do you mind telling us a little bit on how the Center for Veteran Transition and Integration came to be?
Absolutely. The Center for Veteran Transition and Integration came out of our experience working with student veterans over, at the time, approximately, personally for me and professionally, over 15 years mm-hmm. working at Columbia University. Also, and I have to mention, our former dean, who unfortunately we lost a few years back, Peter Ahn, who was my mentor and colleague. Together, we spent an enormous amount of time thinking about the undergraduate student veteran population at Columbia University. Yep. We knew we had a role to play in this sort of post-September 11th period of time. We knew that there would be significant draw-ups of troops being deployed, service members being deployed, first in Afghanistan and then in Iraq. And then we knew what happens at the end of that service, that people come back. They come back looking for opportunity. And we're a college that was founded based on the first GI Bill in 1947. First GI Bill was 1944, and we had thousands of service members who came back post-World War II looking for opportunity. We knew we would see maybe not something on the same scale, but something like that happening. Mm-hmm. So we went out and we started to recruit and we started to build an undergraduate program of scale, from going from 35 service members in 2003 to 480 or so in 2017, 2018, enrolled in the undergraduate classroom at Columbia University. So that commitment was really important. But we also knew that there's an upward limit of how many students we can have in our classroom. We can't have 5,000, 10,000 students in the undergraduate class at Columbia, more than what we already have. And so the idea was really, we've learned all these lessons about how do we help service members maximize potential? How do we knock down barriers, create access? And then once students get in our classroom, student veterans in this specific case, once they get in our classroom, how do we help them be successful? What's our obligation and responsibility to help students not only get through the door, but get out the door and go on to the kinds of life paths that they want, careers and academic opportunities and otherwise. And from that concept, from the idea that we couldn't help as many as we wanted to, and we knew at the time that there were 230,000 enlisted service members every single year exiting service.
Yep.
The center was designed to play a role in that, to bring some of those lessons about realizing your potential and how to thrive and succeed in a competitive academic environment to a much wider audience, and to work with some of the great organizations out there doing amazing work. Organizations like the Warrior Scholar Project, 4Block, SVA. There's so many really incredible organizations doing incredible work, and we thought with Columbia University's resources, our faculty, our student body, our educational technology knowledge, that we could work with these organizations and we could make access better and more readily available. And that's the mission of the center. It's really to knock down those barriers and to help service members. Enlisted is where we start because that's where our heart and soul is, but officers as well kind of realize their goals both professionally and academically.
Absolutely, I love it. So, you kind of answered my next question in that one as well, which was going to be, why do you think CVTI is so important? But like I said, everything you just said answered that question.
Yeah.
So, my final question for you.
Do you mind if I give that a shot?
Oh, absolutely, by all means.
Because I think there's a version of this too. At a place like Columbia, where we do have a significant undergraduate student population, and we've demonstrated, the idea that how you think about classroom composition is more than the traditional notions of diversity that are so important. It's also diversity of age and experience and path
and thought,
and that's what's represented in the School of General Studies at Columbia, but also our undergraduate student veterans. When you think about the center and what the center does, the center takes a little bit of that and really works with other organizations to try to bring that message to a broader audience. If I think about where the center can have an impact and the difference it can make, I think the biggest difference is that the center's content and material and programming and relationships and collaborations knocks down barriers for service members who want to get to the places that they where they think they can achieve and thrive. It's something I learned directly and personally, honestly, as at the time I was the Dean of Admissions, and I was going to bases and I was recruiting and I was going to education centers, and I experienced firsthand being told on a base by an education service officer that why are you here? These students can't get to a place like Columbia. And I'm the Dean of Admissions. It was evidence of a problem.
Yep.
This idea that we have, not the right expectations for what it means to transition out of service. Mm-hmm. And, I think the center sits right at that intersection. It's there to help service members who leave service figure out how to get to where maybe they don't realize they can get to. It's that person who says, you can't go to this place. Well, this is a voice saying, well, no, in fact, you can, because look, it's been done.
Yep.
And, if that's what you want to do, and you have the talent and the motivation to get there, here's some ways you can get there. And then here's how you can thrive and succeed once you're there.
I love it. Awesome. All right. So that being said, now that the center exists, what's next?
I love this question because there are so many things that come next. When we started the center, the idea was to focus on programming, to focus on the work, to focus on doing something. in the space to work with service members transitioning from education from the military into education, and from education into the workforce. And we've done that. We've done that at pretty good scale. Our goal was to help tens of thousands, and I think we've had that contact. We've had that, we've interacted with tens of thousands through our partners, through our collaborations, through our programming. We're at a different phase 5 years in.
Yep.
We're now in a place where we've established that there's a model that works. There's programming that is high impact, that makes a difference. And now the next piece is really to be clear-eyed and focus on where our value can kind of play out the most. We'd like to focus on the relationship we have with our partners. Mm-hmm. And those are VSOs, Veteran Service Organizations, out there doing the work, but they're also the community colleges that have, are the first point of re-entry for so many service members. And trying to help those programs do more than they can do right now based on the staffing they have or the faculty they have available, or the access to resources they have. We'd like to, we were very clear when we started the center that we didn't want to focus on research. Mm-hmm. That research in the initial phase was something to be thought about, but we weren't ready to write about and to publish and for that to be a focus of the center. Yeah. That we wanted to establish a baseline for ourselves. Yeah. We wanted to do the work first and then assess rigorously what it is we've done. We're now at that phase. We've got 5 years of data, 5 years of experience, and 5 years to inform the way in which we think about the research function of what we do. So we plan to build that out.
Cool.
And then we plan to continue to look at the programming. We've focused on how you get into higher education, how you find and realize your potential through access to education. Yeah. We've focused on career transition and how you find the right job and career. Yep. There's still a whole range of ways in which transition happens, and there are so many incredible organizations out there who we'd like to partner with to bring programming to more people, to get more people involved and to make a difference in terms of access.
Cool. So as a follow-up to that, earlier in our discussion, you mentioned that there are around roughly 200,000 enlisted service members who leave active duty service a year and have the potential to use their GI Bill to enter an academic institution such as Columbia. That being said, there obviously are not enough classroom seats here to service the entire veteran population. But that being said as well, would you say that CVTI has any desire to work with peer institutions on possibly establishing, sister branches at those universities where there can also be an increase of veterans representation at the upper echelons of academia?
Sure. CVTI, our mission drives us to work with anyone who's interested in the kind of work that we do. There's sort of a shared sense of we're all in this together, among our partners, and if that's a 4-year institution, another highly selective institution, a 2-year school working with veteran students, our mission compels us to be there and to partner and to look at opportunities to work together. So one of the first things we did when we started working and started building out our programming was really looking at the transition programming coming out of service directly with the DoD, the Department of Defense. And in that process, we were able to reach out to, in the original effort, it was around 10 schools. Today, it's over 35 to 40 schools through an organization that brought, schools all across higher education together who had an interest in thinking about the ways in which we serve veterans on our campuses and in our classrooms. And so we kind of started there, and it was from our own experience in the classroom and in the admissions office and in the career counseling office that drove us to build the work that we built. So yes, absolutely. If there's an institution out there that's interested in the work we do at the center, we'd love to talk to them.
So you also mentioned that CVTI has been around for about 5 years, and the traditional undergraduate path through college is 4 years. And that being said, a lot of enlisted veterans are now reaching the end of their path through undergrad, and they're looking for the next step. And a lot of the times the next step can be grad school, law school, medical school, business school. And while a university such as Columbia has done a tremendous amount of work in increasing representation here for enlisted veterans, there is still work to be done in the graduate level.
Yep.
And do you think that in the future CVTI may be able to affect some change in that representation at the the next level for education?
Yeah, it's a great question. There is a lot of work to be done, and it's one of the reasons why there's so many opportunities for the center in the coming years. There's a real responsibility, not just for, again, helping your providing access and inviting a student into your classroom, but it's, how do you help them achieve whatever comes after the undergraduate program? In our case, how do they get to the graduate school that they want to go to, the law school they want to go to, the business school they want to go to? One of the very founding principles of the Center for Veteran Transition Integration is that we draw on the lessons of our undergraduate program at Columbia, and the undergraduate program specifically at Columbia University School of General Studies. And so we do things like grad school coaching and fellowship building, fellowship knowledge building. Those lessons are applicable absolutely within the veteran space and for our student veterans. And so CVTI has been working with our academic affairs team and our fellowship counselors on ways in which we can make some of that programming specifically designed for service members who are looking at the next step to graduate school or the next step to an academic fellowship. But that's only the beginning of it, right? There's a whole range of things that we need to think about. And we have always said, it's not just simply about the students we're serving here on campus. It's about the tens of thousands of service members and veterans enrolled across all of higher ed. So, we have some programming that's already built and designed in our Attaining Higher Education module, which isn't focused on just getting into undergrad. It's also about graduate school and professional schools. But there's a lot more to be done, a lot more work that I think we can focus on.
Cool. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for meeting with us and taking time to answer some of our questions.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.